So if you feel stuck in life simply because you don't really know who you are, you have never for once self-reflected, right? So if you have never self-reflected, no matter what you're doing, no matter the goal you set for yourself, guess what? Even if you get to that goal, you might still feel miserable. There are people who are earning millions of dollars but still feel miserable simply because they have never taken the time to reflect on themselves. They distract themselves with success. So question now is, what's next? Simple, self-reflect. Ask yourself key questions that when you get the answers make you feel empowered. They make you feel like you know what to do next, the life you want to live. There's a reason this book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, was the world bestseller because it made people realize that everything is fucked up, right? I'm out here chasing goals, chasing success that I did not set for myself. I'm out here playing people's games, not realizing that I too have my own games I need to play for myself to make myself better. So these questions I'm going to ask you in this video to ask yourself are so important because they prime your mind towards seeing the world in a different way, towards seeing the world in a better way. And heck, again, some of these questions will have other questions spring up from them. What that means is every question I mentioned in this video is going to be as important as possible. So go ahead, grab a notebook, write these questions down as I'm saying them. Again, I'll try my possible best to maybe give you some of my answers, but not everything. The first question that I wanted to ask is, who do I admire? And this is a very important question because when you figure out who you admire people because they have traits that you wish you had. But the reason you don't have those traits is other things like fear, people's judgments, people's opinions. Speaking of that, sub question you can ask is, what the fuck will I say or do if people's opinions do not matter? So because you have suppressed a part of you, guess what? You admire people who have that part. That's why I'm always telling people that, who are your mentors? For me, someone I admire a lot is my father. He basically passed down qualities to me that I'm grateful for. And heck, please, the world has been against fathers for years, for these early modern days. But I'll tell you, if you have a father that is present in your life, I want you to realize that he was a man before you. So please, be appreciative of him if he's present in your life. Appreciate his efforts because he was a man before you. So asking that question, who do you admire, can make you realize that for some reasons, you've always had childhood fantasies that you have gotten rid of. Guess what? Those childhood fantasies are your authentic you. And ever since I began to adjust my philosophy along that line of who do I admire, apart from Batman, I admire James Bond. I admire Batman. My dad, James Bond, Batman, some other people share, but let's talk about Batman. What I admire Batman is nobody really cares about him. He does what he does, even though nobody cares about him. He does what he does for strangers, for the city, without any form of reward. He's a billionaire. People think that, well, he's okay, he's fine. His life is perfect, but his life is not perfect. He's up at night making sure people are safe. So guy, I admire that thing, right? I admire like crazy his strength, his courage, his dedication, his discipline. The fact that he's alone in this world. The only person he has is Alfred Pennyworth. The only person he has is Alfred. But still, he's not bothered. He's bothered from time to time, but he has himself and Alfred. It's good. Again, he tries to date here and there. And same thing with James Bond. James Bond still got into a relationship, but I admire the traits of Batman. That's why I wear black every time. I like to feel like I'm invincible. Heck. Something just came to my head. I'll mention it in this video too. What do I really believe? Because if you really look at your beliefs are literally what shape you. Literally what shapes you. What do you believe about women? What do you believe about sex? What do you believe about money? Because these things show up in how you act towards that thing. For example, if you're somebody who believes wrongly about women, guess what? It's either you would remain single or you always find yourself in relationships that conform to that belief. If you believe women are stupid, if you believe women are useless, guess what? Either you're single or you end up being in relationships where the women are useless. And that's one problem I have with the red pill space. The red pill is very important. But guess what? A lot of content creators have turned the red pill towards something. It's not supposed to be a platform for rage baiting. It's supposed to be a platform where men understand the nature of women. And then they figure out how they can use that nature of women currently to their advantage. But guess what? How many men understand that? Compared to not many of them. Simply because it's always about rage bait, the girls are hoes. Women have a nature, but can you use it to your advantage? Again, when you know these beliefs that spring up to your head, ask yourself, are these beliefs helping you to achieve what you want to achieve? Very important. Another follow-up question for those beliefs, right? Because for the longest, I had wrong beliefs around money, right? Money was evil. Later, money was so hard to get. I have to do a lot of things to get money. But over time, right? Ever since I begin to self-reflect on my beliefs, again, one other thing you should do is when you find your beliefs, question them. Did they serve you? And one thing I've come to realize is nothing is good, nothing is bad. Everything has its advantages, everything has its use, but put it that way. And ever since I changed that mindset, I come to also, again, when you begin to change your beliefs, the way you see the world changes completely. A typical example is, as I began to change my worldview about money, I got to realize that when economies rise, people get richer. When economies fall, some people that became richer when the economy rose still get richer when it falls. Simply because they understand the game of beliefs. They understand the game of thinking with strategy. Again, it's not possible for you to be able to think without asking questions. That reminds me, because I was coaching one guy the other day, and he said something. He says, he says, I'm very smart. I know all the answers. I said, no, I don't know all the answers. I know a lot of answers. And he's like, what's the difference? I said, I have answers to questions that I have asked. Because when you ask questions, guess what? You find the answers. But at least finding a reasonable answer that stands the test of time is way better than not even looking for the answer at all. So it then come my perspective that as you live through life, you would gather principles. When you ask questions, when you seek, you shall find. 3, a strong question is, if money and status were nothing, what would you really do? This comes down to you asking yourself, wait, what the fuck is success? Who defines success? Who actually defines success to be just money? Because success is deeper than that. I'll tell you for a fact that my father may not have been super up there as his friends when they all started, but he was happy. His family was good. She was good. The people he promised to take care of were good. He sent people to schools, to higher institutions, and he was good. She was good. Right? So if you really dig it right, although this question and the next question, they go hand in hand, it makes you question, what really is your term, what really is your definition of success, or what would you call success if money and status were not there? Because whenever I said, oh, I set a goal for $1 million, guess what? After I get the $1 million, you realize that your life doesn't really change. I mean, you're eating different food, you're eating, maybe you're having a better car, but your life doesn't really change. And I come to realize that's why whenever I remember that I'm not yet as successful as I dreamt to be in my late 20s, I come to realize that even the things that I was desiring, when I got them, they became habitual, they became invincible to me. They became, I won't use the word useless. They didn't hold as much relevance in my head anymore. It's the same thing with money. And if you're somebody who has read people's stories, you would realize that people will dream about retiring to the beach at maybe age 40. At age 40, they'll retire to the beach. When they get to the beach, they get to realize that, nah, they prefer to work. So again, success, set your mind towards it. And there's a story that inspired me about a man who refused to take up a promotion at his office simply because he wanted to spend more time with his kids. That's very powerful. And guess what? He was able to pay up all 4 kids, able to pay up all the school fees for the 4 kids. He was able to spend more time with them. They have run marathons, and simply because he understood his definition of success and he worked towards it. Most people's successes start with working from where they are right now, moving forward. Guess what? What's going to happen is you will set goals based on your current problems. When you solve those problems, you're going to set goals based on your next desired problem. Guess what? You will never be fulfilled. But when you pause, this is why I prefer lifestyle design over goals. Look at in 5 years. What do you want your health to be like? What do you want your wealth to be like? What do you want your relationships to be like? What do you want happiness to be like? And guess what? Work your way back towards it. That's why if you remove money and status, what would you try to achieve? What would make you happy? My 4th question here is, if today was your last day, would you work on that project? This one I got from Steve Jobs. And bro, it made me shut down one of my startup after working for 3 years. Because truly, will I be happy if this is what if I achieve this goal? Not really. If this was my last day and I'm working on that project and I solve that project, will I be happy? Not really. One thing that had me very, very happy that I have after self-reflecting is the fact that I like helping young men. Because every single man that has walked into my life, every single one of them that has stayed has always seen massive benefit in their personality. And to be very frank, whether it is free coaching or paid coaching, it gives me a self-esteem boost that it works for him. Bro, I don't think money has ever given me that kind of feeling before. So another question is, what makes you feel alive? What makes you feel alive? What are you most grateful for? Right? What project are you working on now that you feel like, even if you succeed, it might be a big project, but even if you succeed, nah, there's no excitement there. And bro, it will make you rethink what you're doing right now. Again, Steve Jobs, very powerful. That question is super powerful. Makes you reflect on what you're doing right now. It makes you think about what area of your life are you suppressing. And that's even made me go to mixed martial arts. Because I asked myself, if I was to die in the next 6 months, what would I do? One thing I told myself is, I don't think I'm comfortable going to my grave without learning how to fight. Right? I'm not comfortable going to my grave without learning how to shoot guns. Because these things from my childhood fantasies, right? Again, that's why for my story, if you know my story, you would have known that I tried to join the special forces after my youth service, but for some reasons, I had to stop that idea. But at least I'm grateful for the fact that I had discipline. Me in the army made me self-discipline myself. And heck, that's still a childhood fantasy I want to achieve, even though I'm not go to war because I don't think I should go to war. But at least that whole idea of me being competent, me being able to defend myself, being able to fulfill the childhood fantasy, because to be very honest, when I was a child, I was bullied. Right. Again, this help you to self-reflect. Like I said, you feel lost because you don't reflect on yourself. Number 5 is, what would you like to change about the past? This is very important because we all have resentment, we all have regret, we all have shame. But guess what? If you can self-reflect and figure out the times when you fucked up the most, you get to realize that there's something that you did to fuck up like that. Guess what? Don't do that again. Because you really cannot change the past. But guess what? You can alter the future by altering your choices today. And that's something that I always tell guys, don't you just change your current action to reflect the future, right? Why don't you do that? Again, if you're back in time and figure out those situations that you regret, you would always figure out what your actions were. One problem I think I had is when I was much younger was getting involved with alcohol, right? Getting over high or drunk or something, and me being used. So ever since, I've tried my possible best to rarely even drink, right? That means even though I drink, I'm still very, very calculative. I rarely do it. I'm not saying that to claim virtue, no. I still drink. So there's no virtue in little drink or so much drink. But the virtue comes in self-discipline, right? Again, so that's it basically. I feel like if you ask yourself these questions, you begin to understand who you are. You begin to feel confident about yourself. You begin to find answers to your problems. Again, ask questions. Questions are powerful that I'm supposed to make a video about the art of asking questions, because I have to tell people that something that saved me from my social anxiety is the art of asking questions, being curious about people. So when I'm meeting new people, I'm asking questions and they're talking about themselves. And trust me, guess what? Girls have been enjoying it. My mentors enjoy the questions that I ask them. The people who I coach, again, speaking about coaching, right? Let's be honest. One of my first questions I always ask people is, I ask myself so that I can have ways of asking them is, what area of life are you already winning at? Very easy question, right? Because a lot of guys try to focus on where they are losing. That's simply because of the way the mind operates. But if you focus on where you are winning, guess what? When it's on where you are winning, it now begins to make sense to you. You'll be like, okay, that is the game plan. That is what I should do. Again, so it's that easy. Again, if you ever see yourself in a debate and you want to win the debate, focus on questioning the opinions or thoughts of your opponent and watch the way the magic happens. If you're talking to girls, ask questions. Again, there's an art to asking questions. Even if you're selling, you're asking questions because it makes the other person feel very important. It makes the other person feel relaxed. It makes you feel trustworthy. So again, bro, but it starts with asking yourself questions because if you never ask yourself questions, you never really know your potential. You never know your problems, your blind spots. Heck, so I could be speaking for long, but if you like what you're hearing, brother, send this video to somebody who you know will find it helpful because, bro, asking questions will change your life. Talk to you soon, and please share this video because I could I'm talking for long if you let me.